when we started the show, what people fell in love with was our antagonistic relationship. What they don't know is that
was
it was
real.
real. We couldn't stand each other.
I just, what?
We could not stand each other. The first whole year, we could not I remember, I don't even think I had his number saved on my phone. We could not stand each other.
And he continued to do
And
the
you
same
see,
way.
I mean, no, he understood that primetime show is important and it was serious. So coming on time, he'd come on time. Because, I mean, now it's a serious thing.
Did you call him to order? You're like, hey, boss.
No, that calling to order is what he didn't like. Calling to order, he says, you're too serious. You're always, pushing can't you just relax? Life is easy. So he would be taking life very easy. I would be like,
you're the brains, you're doing all the work.
We've got all this to do. I'm the anchor. So even if you mess up, it won't be on you, it will be on me.
Yes. Welcome to another episode of Sanaa Wasanii. My name is Sheilah Kimathi, and this is a podcast that highlights artists and celebrate artists in their own right. And I feel like Miss Kalekye Mumo is a radio queen, and thank you so much for gracing us today. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's nice to meet you. Nice to just see your beautiful podcast and see the different voices that you've been bringing on. So,
thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you on set.
Thank you.
You're such a huge deal.
Well.
Oh, you are. Lady, you are.
I don't know. But anyway, let's hear this.
Okay. So today I'm going to delve into your career side because I feel like the public has tried to pry into your private life so much that they do not appreciate the steps that you've taken in the industry and your contributions to the industry as well.
Yeah.
So I would like to highlight that in particular, and also maybe some parts of life that you can, life lessons maybe.
Okay.
Right? Take us back to where you began. Like, did you wake up one day and decide you want to be a radio host? Did you wake up and decide you want to be the voice of radio? Or did it just bump onto you by accident? Or you were just a singer, you just walk with the story like, oh my God, you can act. Come to one of the times, and your career is made, right?
I think I have shared this story before, but I think the fascination for radio began as a child. Back then, I come from a generation where we were only listening to the Voice of Kenya, one radio station, which was AM before it became FM.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, you would listen to the radio as if you're watching it, because as a child, I'm wondering, how are those voices inside? Because where are they? So having watched TV and then now you're listening to radio, you tend to think that they're inside the radio as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I was fascinated. I was specifically fascinated by a show that used to come at 4 o'clock called Beat Time. And there's this lady called Khadija Adams. She was a presenter, and the way she'd play music, of course the VOK stand would be playing, dip the fader talk, continue, salams, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, it was get home quickly, finish homework, go and steal your dad's transistor radio, and you're there. I'm like, wow. So I was fascinated. That's when I first started engaging with this thing called radio. And I knew that I want this thing. I loved talking I think I must have been born talking. But I love talking. I love entertaining people, listening to people. So the dream kind of started then. Amid all the other things as a child, you want to be a nurse because you've gone to the hospital and the nurse was nice to you, she gave you a sweet.
Yes.
You want to be like your parent, whatever job they're doing, because that's what you know. But the minute I engaged with radio, I knew I wanted it. The journey going forward was my parents saying, that is not a job.
Were your parents supportive?
Of course not.
What did they want you to become?
Anything that has a name on the door. That generation of when you have a corporate job and there's a name on the door, there's a placard when you walk into the office, because it's old school. That's the generation that they come from.
Yes.
And so for my parents, the minute I said I actually would like to go in this direction, there was a problem. And even the problem was further in as a child, because I was acting. By the time I was 9, I had a lead role on a James Falkland play.
Oh, wow.
I was singing in all sorts of choirs, manners in school. I was acting in all the plays and doing all the musicals and all the dances. I remember being challenged by my mom that these things are for fun. Now you're going to high school. It needs to stop. And I was in Metro Convent in Songari, and that's where, arts and creativity was really nurtured.
Yeah.
So then my parents are like, hey, I think we need to remove her from this school because that's where the problem is. Because for them, this creativity fun is for child's play.
When do you study?
You now need to study.
Yes.
You're not a child. High school is serious.
Sasa, KCSE.
I was taken to boarding school. But what did I do when I got there? Drama club, music club. I was at music festivals every year representing debate club. But I was good at it. So
you could not get away from it.
I think that was the hard part. So now come out of high school and then you're saying you want to find a degree that allows you to do this. And they're looking at me like, as if we are the ones paying first, if we're the ones paying, we're going to go to a school that you will do something that we understand and that we will choose what you're going to, which school you're going to go to.
Oh, wow.
And so I ended up at USIU. My brothers were there and it was you're going with your brother. Your brothers are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had two brothers there. One was doing his master's. The other one had done his undergrad there. And I ended up there. But I wanted to do communications, and that time only Daystar was offering communications.
Yes.
Nobody had a degree for communications other than Daystar. And my parents had said, no. So I go to USA, I look at the degree options. Most of them are science-based, and I am not interested. Science is not mudomo changu.
Science is a struggle for the arts between the arts
and if you're artsy, it's just like I'll thrive in arts. So I looked at my options. I picked my degree, inky, pinky, ponky, like that, between psychology and this thing that was called IR, International Relations, that I had never heard of. But I landed on that because I was like, psychology, me, I know people. I know people. I talk to people every day, understand how they think, moving on
to the next thing.
And I picked this thing and I had no clue what I was going to learn. But funny thing is, I actually enjoyed campus the most. That was my most engaging, most educative, or personally, the time that I started reading for me was when I was doing that degree. International relations is an element of politics. It has an element of research, debate, conversations.
Yes.
As long as you can prove your facts. Yes. So that analytical side of it was engaging for a creative mind.
I can imagine.
And actually, it helped me become a better presenter.
Yes.
So I finished this degree. I tell my parents, it's been real. Thank you. Here's the degree
that you wanted so bad.
Goodbye. And I had done my internship at the Embassy of Turkey. They wanted to keep me on. They gave me a contract, but I was bored out of my mind.
What were you doing at the embassy?
They were starting up a trade department. So now it was to start building the link between traders in Turkey and traders in Kenya. And so the first ever Turkish great exhibition that happened at the site, I was in charge of organizing that.
Congratulations.
But again, I was bored out of my mind because it's not what I wanted.
True.
So I started, I remember as we finished campus was when FM stations were starting. And I had been listening to FM from the States where you have Relas who send you recorded tapes of radio station. So that's what I had listened to, and I'd gotten to understand, oh my God, this thing can be so great. So finally we get our first FM station, and Metro FM at the time wanted to use the name Capital FM.
Okay.
And they started that way. But they had not paid for the license of Capital. So they were told they have to change. And while that was happening, that is when Linda Holt paid for the license through the UK to have Capital FM. So these two stations start. And Metro has started first.
Yes.
And so now I'm like, okay, you know what? You're finishing your degree. Apply. So I start applying. I start the process. I apply. Hey, the next thing I know, they call me and we go in and we start. But then, they have VOK KBC mentality.
Yes.
You must speak Swahili too. Swahili sanifu kwa televisheni ama kwa radio. Fail.
You write it down.
Fail. So I went all the way to, I think, the top 10. And the last interview was just so intimidating that they call you into this auditorium at KBC, and then they have the great voices and the people you've been seeing on TV as you grow up. Now they're all sitting in that room, and then now you're given a script and you're told, roll.
Oh my God.
Let me tell you, the English, perfect. When we came to the Swahili, I'm looking and seeing the Swahili speakers in the room, and I'm going, oh my God. So that's how I missed that particular
Take Swahili out the window.
Out the window. Stick to what you're good at.
True.
Use the language that you're good at. Because I find even today a lot of people say, oh, I really want to be on radio. And I'm like, what language are you good at? Like, see, I can speak English. And I'm like, no, are you good? Do you know how to use your tone and inflection to paint pictures? Because that's what radio does.
Yes.
You're sitting there and you're listening, and this person's telling you a story. Can you see the story in your mind?
Can you feel it?
Exactly. Can you and if you do it well, the picture of what people thought I look like with my voice is very different from who I am. True. And a lot of people didn't know that because I kept away anyway from the pictures for a long time.
Yes.
So the ability to paint the pictures was important. So I said, okay, that one has failed. Now, that time I'm interning at Turkish Embassy. I'm still trying. So all the days that I was there, I was busy trying.
You're busy on this other side. Yes.
I got bored while I was there. Applying. I think I may have sent to Capital FM in the 5 years before I got in. I must have sent 1,000,001 faxes. If you remember what a facsimile machine was. For the audience who do not know what a fax is, Google is your friend.
Exactly.
So whichever office I'd be in, I'd be there thinking, what's the fax number for Capital?
Quick, fast.
Send, And I wasn't getting called backs. I knew a few people who were family friends who were working there. But you know what? The assumption that just because you know somebody means they can get you a job anywhere is right. It's not their company. Their company. That process. Yes. Processing. Like the way they ask you to apply. Go record a demo tape. Now, finding a place to record.
In that time.
My
good Lord.
I was living with my parents, and we live off Wayaki Way, so Western is our nearest place. It's the Kasanga studio that you had at your closest to record. First, you buy the tape,
Yes. Guy.
And you remember buying a TDK tape?
Yes.
180 TDK, how much it was. Then you go and you now find the studio time to be allowed to record a short demo, and then you pay them. Let me tell you. And you're an intern. You have not made much money, eh? It was hard. I applied for about five years before. Oh, well, it took 5 years before I got in.
You kept sending demos.
I kept sending until I got tired. I ended up working at Homeboys when they were setting up their first office.
Mm-hmm.
I had dealt with them while I was on campus because I was in the Student Affairs Council as the welfare chair.
Mm-hmm.
So all the parties and events that were happening at the time, I was on organizing. And that was like, I graduated in 2000. The year 2000. Yes. When the year 2000. I'm not your cousin. I'm not young. Yes. Respect your elders. Anyway.
So this one is from 2000. Alizaliwa 2000.
Oh my. So I was graduated in 2000, and then I end up at Homeboys because now they're setting up their first office, and they needed someone who understood the business, and I had been able to get them so many gigs while I was a student.
Yes.
And that's where I started. But in my mind, I'm thinking, if I start here, these guys now had just gotten the first radio DJ gig at Capital. This was new to our airspace. We had never had a DJ. What a DJ makes on air. Unless you had listened to tapes from abroad,
yes,
you had no clue what that was.
Like Eric Lee's.
Exactly. And so I said, okay, fantastic. Now, if I work for them, even if they're paying me peanuts to be just an office manager, they will probably one day send me to go and deliver the CD of the week's music, that show. And then I will talk to the receptionist. They hear my voice, and then I get voiceover test. And then I had a plan. The plan was laid. Fantastic. So I took this job. My mother and father, like, what? You're working with boys? First, they're called homeboys. So they're lazy. They stay at home.
Wait,
Like,
wait.
they're DJs. DJs.
Even worse.
They play in clubs. What? So it was not working. And they're paying you what? 8,000 shillings. And
Yeah,
you have graduated with honors. You're joking.
lies.
Yeah, so it was tough at home.
You were not kicked out of the house?
After some time, I was told, now you can go and do those things you want to do out there. But it took some time. But so I worked at Homeboys. I'm begging them to let me do some extra tech work, learn how to run cables, learn how to DJ, anything technical. Because at this point, I figured if I get a technical skill, yes, that is in the same industry and line of radio, when I go to pitch to be given this job, because I haven't studied in it, I have some backing. Yes. So I feel like a lot of young people today don't look at what are the different things I can do to give me leverage.
Yes.
That I'm not just a voice. I have production background.
And you have value, like you've created value.
Yeah, I've created value. I can do more than one thing in the office. Yes. Hiring me will be an advantage to you. Exactly. Because I will not just be sitting and waiting for the time to go on air. So I had thought this through. So they tell me, no, we're not going to teach you technical. You're a girl.
Oh, God. Oh,
it was the year 2001. You know how these things go.
Okay, that hard.
I left by luck. Another couple who were running a studio in Karen, a studio called Rough Cuts Productions, came to conduct interviews to hire. They were looking to hire somebody to take over the production and management of their studio. At the time, Tim Rimbui had been working there, but he was leaving. So they needed somebody as he's leaving. And this was before Tim Rimbui was Tim Rimbui. Okay. So they conduct the interviews, and I can just see the people who have come are people who have mad communications, guys who have gone and gotten a diploma in this thing or something. So I'm just listening because it's a small room. So meaning that as they conduct their interviews on one side of the room, I'm on the other side of the room.
Listening.
And every day, they did it for about 3 days. They'd ask me, oh, so what do you think we should ask them today? How do you feel? Just morning conversation, evening conversation as they leave. On the 4th day, my boss tells me, hey, by the way, these guys said they want to talk to you, whether you might want this job. So I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, they asked me about you. And I said that you've been wanting to learn technical and I don't have the ability to teach you. So do you want to talk to them? I'm like, absolutely, yes.
Today, now.
We'll talk. And we spoke and I told them what I wanted and what my dream was. And they said, you know what? Come, let's teach you how to even be in a studio.
Oh, wow.
Right? We were looking for an office manager. We loved your management skills in the last 3 days we've been here. So we think you've got that. So what we'll do is we may not have much more to pay you. From 8 I went to 10K. But then we knew that 2K now basta ya kwenda Karen kutoka Wayaki. Ilikuwa inaisha yote.
Walikuwa wanapanda matatu ngapi kwanza?
2.
You see.
At the time, actually, my luck was that they had just introduced the metro shuttle. The first ones going to Karen.
Nice.
Problem is when you shuka Karen shopping center, tembea for about 15 minutes ndio ufike ofisi.
Guy.
Yeah.
How far was it?
It was far. And there was nothing that's going inside unless you have money for a cab. No. Yeah. So true. I would walk. So I took the job. My parents were like, now you're moving where? Where is that now? So I told them, come see. It's a fully fledged studio. I mean, the lady of the house was from a family friend. So they kind of were like, okay, let's see, because we know this lady's parents, married to a British guy, and they were running this place. And they were like, yeah, we'll teach her. And that was why I took the job. It wasn't about the amount of money. It was the fact that I'm going to be trained. And that's where I got to learn. I have a good voice. How do I use it? So I was trained how to do voiceovers. I started making extra income doing voiceovers. I was now recording and editing and learning. So Tim Rimbui did a quick handover training, left, and then this British guy, it's called Lee Smith, started training me. So now, by the time I was done with that, I had stopped applying for radio because I was like, you know what? I've actually gotten a bruise.
Yeah.
I'm actually sitting here and we're producing radio shows. I remember producing for the UN a show called Heart and Soul, which was a theater show. And they had a TV version and a radio version. And so this means you have actors coming in There are scripts to do, you're recording, you're soundscaping, you're creating all this. So for me, I am a sound engineer of the School of Hard Knocks.
Exactly.
I was very okay doing what I was doing. I was like, radio.
Not so much.
Left there, moved to Mediva. You've heard of Mediva?
Yes, I have.
So I moved to Mediva when they were just starting the Mediva TV season 2. And then, was a sound engineer fully fledged. Now this is you. I don't have my boss to tell me what to do. It's me. Did that. Agenda Kenya, the first Agenda Kenya, it was us who were starting. Now, when we were preparing for Agenda Kenya, Capital FM had Marcus and Leo on the Jam.
I remember those guys. They were so popular.
Now, they had just started and apparently it wasn't working at the beginning.
Why?
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, unless you really know what was going on. Apparently, it wasn't working. So there was a need for another host to join. And so they had a Radio Idol competition. Idols had just launched, so it was a hot thing. So when they came up with Radio Idol, they were like, yeah, we can relate.
Radio.
Yes. So my friend insists, she calls me, she says, hey, have you heard? So I'm like, no, I'm busy editing. My hours are, out of this world. And I don't have time.
You don't have hours.
And as we are producing all this content, my free time was a Saturday morning to just do my hair. But I'm working even Sunday. So even at this point, my mom is getting even more upset because she's like, you're never home. Where do you go? You come in at some weird hours, then you leave even before we see you. And I'm like, imagine I'm working, even my friends are so pissed at me. How she's thinking I'm on the dunda.
Everyone thinks you're on the dunda, but you've started drugs. Some are doing the pulse.
Let me tell you, this is world of production, and
it's not for the fame.
People think we're just having fun, but hey, I was working. And so in that process is when she pushes me and says, you know what, just send in your CV. In fact, they're not even asking for a demo tape. They're not asking for anything, just your CV. I said, do you know how many CVs they have of mine by now?
Right.
5 years. 5 years since I started applying when they opened in 2000. Now we're in 2005. Why should I bother? That's like mid 2005. So she says, stop being stubborn.
Send it.
So I tell her, fine. She calls me at like 4 o'clock saying the deadline is 5 now.
Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks we've been talking. And I said, it's irritating. I'm sending and I'm blind copying. And now I had to blind copy her because she's really pissed at me. So I didn't edit it to suit the application of the job. I sent it as a sound engineer, which means all the jobs that I had ever edited or touched, produced or done were on my CV. I was about 27.
That was a good start.
I was at 27, 28 there. Years of age by now. I've been trying since I was 25.
In fact, since your 20s.
Yeah, I've been trying. So it's odd to find somebody at that age who has a 10-page CV. Very awkward.
Very weird.
That's why they called me.
Curiosity.
Called me because they were like, at you how old and you have how many like all these jobs and the international jobs we had had when Tomb Raider was shooting here. I had been part of that. So they're like, we have to meet this chick. That's how I got into radio.
Are you serious?
I went for the audition. I joined the Radio Idols, got into the top 10, got into the top 5, top 3, and I won.
Wow. Congratulations. Oh my God.
Thank you. And it was audience voted.
Wow.
Audience voted.
And it's just audio.
Audience voted. It's people who were told, listen, it's an Idol.
Yeah.
And vote the same way Idol happened. And that's how it was. In fact, I remember the first day I was supposed to go, since we were now setting up for Agenda Kenya. My boss says, in fact, we're having the recce on this day. And I'm like, but we were supposed to do it. So she says, no. We'll recce on this day. Me, I'm there thinking, I need to be in the studio by 2 o'clock because the show starts at 3 and they'll do an hour with you so that listeners get to hear you.
Yes.
I call Marcus and I tell him, now, something has happened. I can't come. I lied something. I can't come. So it's even getting there. Well, it had fire. Then they tell me you can only come for the first radio interview on a public holiday. And, people don't listen to radio on the public holiday.
Yeah, guys are chilling.
People are watching TV.
Being with their families.
Other things.
Right.
I just told them, we have no choice. I will take the day. but I still won. And that's, for me, if God has decided that this is the time,
it is
the time. If I look back then, I had waited 5 years to do something I really wanted, or even get an opportunity. And I had even felt that God is just being mean.
Right?
But in retrospect, the fact that I had the technical background, the production elements, made me a better presenter. By the time they were teaching me their desk, by the time I understood things, I understood how sounds mix together, which songs, why they're supposed to go, which way, what. I understood, and I could edit. So meaning calls, any good radio station doesn't take live calls for the simple fact that somebody could say something they shouldn't say, or that they'll fluff about before they get to the point and ask, we want to make our show smooth, tight, and moving.
Yes.
So I could edit. So those were advantages that also helped once they discovered, okay, she has a good voice. What, she can also do ABCD. And I got a show. I got in, did the night yard shift for their training. It was a training. I won a training, won a small TV, won a phone. I mean, those are great.
That's a really
great thing.
Exactly, considering you've been waiting
and I've been waiting a lifetime. And at the time at home, now things are tight for, you will move. You just move. We cannot be two women in this house. You're trying to call shot Utahama. So I'm like, yeah, I'm moving. And I moved. So I do this thing. Meanwhile, back at Mediva, it was a contract-based thing because it was NGO sponsored. The contract have ended. There is no renewal of the contracts from the NGO. So we are in limbo. So I was like, okay, I can finish the training peacefully, but I don't know what next. Because it's not a guarantee they're giving you a job.
Yes.
It's just
training. Yeah, that's
you've come, you've experienced.
Never.
So I finish, and then I'm like, okay, there's a cousin of mine living in TZ, and she was getting, to prepare to get married and whatever. So I say, hey, I must come. I must meet this guy.
Let's come
I'm coming to see him since I've got nothing to do, on a bus off to TZ. So as I'm on the bus, just before we cross the Kenyan border, I'm called capital. Hey, where are you? I'm like, just about to cross the border into TZ. What's up? Nothing. We need you on air. I'm like, what? Exactly that. I'm like, what? Yeah, now, in fact, we want to give you a position for breakfast. That's where I started.
So that means ulishuka basi ukarudi.
Nani, niko na planned nini. So since you are calling me, you are the ones in need. My friend, you must know your value.
Exactly.
I will be back after. They said, okay. Because I was like, I'm on the way. I'm not going to cut my trip short. I had a whole week to enjoy in TZ. It's my first time in TZ. Bye.
They had an entire lifetime to hire you. So they can wait a few days.
Can wait a few days.
Right.
So I went and enjoyed my TZ trip, came back, and then I was on air in the morning.
Wow.
And so I started off with Ses Mutungi,
nice,
who I had known as a family friend. It was tough because when we're on air, there's no I know you. And listeners were enjoying it. They had been with Ngatia Murenga on air at first. It was Ses and Ngatia. Ngatia I had known from USIU. We were in USIU together. And then the next thing I know, there's an incident. You can Google about it again between when Ses and I were on air. And then she's Chujwad. I'm told you're the anchor. I'm like, how will I be the anchor? Ngatia is being brought back. He has more experience. They're like, no, you're the anchor. So it was such deep end situation. I feel like I had no experience, but here I was doing arguably the biggest shows on any radio station of the breakfast shows.
Yes, they are.
So here I am running this thing, panicked and wondering, what am I doing? It's what I wanted, but oh my God.
Like it's just been dumped on you like
dumped on me. And so I did that for about 3 months. Now my issue in those 3 months was they had not moved me from an internship's fee. And I'm like, I can't be a breakfast anchor. And there's no real payment.
Exactly. You have no food in the
I have not moved from intern. Am I an intern on air and I'm using my name as an anchor? It's not possible. So when I started having that argument, of course, things were not going the way they were going, and we agreed to disagree, and I left.
Hiya. Okay.
Yeah, I left. In 3 months, I left.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think it's important to know your worth.
Yes,
and
it
that's
is.
one thing I'm not short of, knowing my worth, knowing my value.
How did you get to know? Like all this work, what did you do to know your worth? Because I think we struggle with self-awareness and self-worth.
I think it
as
starts from
creatives.
home. It starts from home. It starts from how did your parents make you feel about who you are, and not about work or choices you're making. No, as an individual, how did your parents make you feel or understand your position on this earth?
That is not reinforced enough.
Now, I am the fourth born. I have 3 older brothers. My parents were very clear that there's no special treatment for you being the girl or for them being the boys. For everyone is the same. You are all great and amazing children. You all have your special this, that, the other. And so thrive. But I also love that my brother, the eldest, 5 years older than me, and he really was, through my life, very encouraging of the things that I love and I'm good at.
Fantastic.
He was very encouraging, like, this is your thing. I remember he took me for my first karaoke night because I love to sing, and I was singing all through school, from the plays to the choir. And so he took me for the first karaoke. He's like, just pick your song and sing. And I sang, and the whole of, then it was where Green Corner Cactus Bar stopped. They're like, who is that? So it emphasized me knowing who I am, what's my worth. I'm good at this thing. And so he always spoke life into me, and was like, this is your thing. This is your gift. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not good at what you do. Don't let anyone stop you from. So my brother really spoke life into me.
Because I'm sure if you had listened to your parents, it'd be something else now.
I'm a defiant child.
Oh, okay.
I'm a defiant child. I don't look it, but I'm a bit. And then also the name. When you name your child Kalekye, you have to understand what it means.
What does it mean?
Okay? So I was named after my great-grandma. But coincidentally, my grandma is also called Kalekye. So what happened? My mother's father, his mother was called Kalekye, and he married a woman called Kalekye. Okay? Now, those are strong, independent, confident women who were all very creative, and they decide which way they are going.
And it's that way.
It's that way. So if you loosely translated, Kalekye is let go. Kaachilie. Decide anaenda hivi.
Let her be.
You will just be fighting.
Just creating conflict.
It's just not going to end well for you, because she's still going to go where she wants to go. So children who are named Kalekye are very headstrong.
You're representing your ancestors.
Complete.
100%.
I have no doubts about it. Complete. So in terms of whether I would have done something different, I don't think so, because I was sure and clear on what I want from a very early age, and I was going to do it, even if it meant pretending to do something else for a 4-year degree, give it to them and move to what I really want. Scratch the surface, start by earning peanuts. I was earning that 8,000. I was hosting. I started hosting karaoke back in the day. Intercontinental had karaoke. I remember.
What was your first salary even?
8,000 shillings.
8K?
Yes.
That's it.
8K.
When they made
not really. People who had graduated with the qualifications I had were being paid 25.
Oh my God.
So you can see why my parents were.
Hey, madam.
Yeah. And then I moved to 10.
Oh, yeah, dodges. Oh, God.
And then, it grew very slowly. By the time I got to Capital and was getting 50K, it was 5 years. My mom had lost her mind. Like, what is all this? You can't even afford to move. But I used to save. I was really good at saving, because I was like, I will move. We're not fighting. Like, I will move.
One day.
So I used to buy my 2 things slowly. You leave work. You're like, I'm moving. You go, you buy a mwiko.
Yes.
Ugali thing and a sieve. I'm moving like that. I used to shop like that. By the time I was moving, I had my whole kitchen sorted and my bedroom sorted. So you just need to sleep and you need to eat, shower and go. The other things are... So I was ready. But that's how the journey really was. I remember I love my hair. I love good hair. But I had to cut my hair because I couldn't afford it. I mean, being paid 8,000 bulb, I couldn't
Something
afford
has to give.
I couldn't afford it. So I cut my hair and I'll just buy, my 2 texturizers and burn myself at home. Yeah, just keep going. Work more than usual because you have to save whatever pennies you're getting.
Yes.
So at the very most, I was making that 8K and doing karaoke being paid 2K
Okay.
per night.
Extra income.
So that 2K was now I'd like save, or use the 2K for your bus fare, save the 8K,
Save the 8K.
like that. And I moved to Karen 10K. Like it was 10K, then the extra 2K. Like I was just balancing. In fact, the full time I was balancing cash. Anyway, so here I am. We've reached loggerheads at Capital. I have left. Before I left, I had the breakfast show, but then I also had a weekend show. There's a show that used to be called Golden Sunday. That was one of my favorite shows because we would play music from your 60s, 70s, 80s. Now, I grew up listening to 60s music because my father loved his 60s music. He's one of the guys who studied in the US back in the day, taken by the government, the first guys who were taken on scholarship. So he had bought so many records when he was then. He had kept them intact. So I grew up playing and listening to that music.
Oh, nice.
So I loved that show. I remember on my last show was on a Sunday. That's the one that made me sad. It wasn't even the breakfast one. It was that particular show because of the music, the style. I was, alone, so it was easier to manage. And as I left, I wrote an email to Kiss 100, which had started probably, it had started 2003 or something, so about 2-3 years old, but they were doing so well. So now this is about 2005, headed towards October. And I write to them and I say, I've been on air the last 3 months and I am looking to grow further and move. This is me.
Yeah.
Kept quiet for about 2 days. I wrote it on a Sunday. They called me on a Wednesday. They were waiting to hear if I'm still on air or not, meaning they had heard.
Yes.
And so they realized I'm not on air. They call me and they say, okay, you come in, let's have a conversation. When I get there, they tell me, we really like your voice. Yes, we've listened to you, but we don't have a position for an on-air presenter. What we have is a space for a news editor and reader. I'm like, a news or what? New who what?
Wanini?
Yes, I did international relations, but I'm not interested.
You're not doing news.
First of all, if I start talking politics, they'll arrest me. No. Because me, I'll talk real.
Yes.
I don't want. So anyway, but then I had to think about it and I said, let me go back and discuss with that, my elder brother. And he told me, listen, the foot in the door in the biggest radio station in the country at the moment.
Yes.
Go in. Do whatever it is they ask you to do. Fight for what you want.
Remember, endgame.
Fight for what you want, an on-air mainstream show.
Yes.
Fight for it. And I said, fine. So I took the news. Karen Abdul trained me for, I think that was now, I joined in November. So November, December, she goes on leave. And now I'm running the place myself. It is the hardest thing I have had to do. I don't know sports news. At the time, we were really working for our money. So
literally,
if you're doing the morning shift, you're at work by 4 a.m. so that you record. When internet was still, guys understand. Akakuwa na audios. Ilikuwa unaweza soma, but audios. So you have to record sports news from Sky News onto the cool edit it, write the script for the sports news that you will use for the morning session. Okay? And then manage the stories that were submitted yesterday, blah, 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 prepare, run to the studio, start 6 a.m. news, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., like that. And you don't leave until 1 p.m. So that's a 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. shift or an 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. shift. Okay. There were many hours. In the process of doing that, I'm just looking at the program control and I'm telling him, now, it's great, I'm learning, it's good. But I want a show. And I was in that guy's office, I think, every day. So
nagging him.
So
reminding him.
Even your weekend, Akina, just anything.
One session.
Just one show. I know you don't have the ones for the weekday. Weekend. And I kept saying it. And he was like,
Sawa basi.
there's a show that had been pitched here called Keeping It Kenya. Let me analyze how you can do it. So me, I'm thinking I'm going to get the show. You're going to be doing the show with Shafie. I'm like, with who? The most unserious person in the office, who's currently he's a producer, and Roy Kareza, who was the head of creative. Me, I'm just looking at the same guy.
Unaniua.
Can I just do the show by myself? No. It was their idea, so you have to do it with them. And that's how we started.
That's how Shafie became your co-presenter.
At that time, it was a Saturday show at noon, meaning you should be at work at 11 to prep. They went out on Friday.
Boy.
So prep is your faith. You just sit then. Then they come and read. Turadu. Wewe hata stress unakuanga tu na pressure. Show tutafanya. Guy. Me, I'm fighting for my life. You're here. I'm here to prove that if I do this show well, you guys should give me a
position. Yes.
And so.
Yes.
It was hard.
So yeah, what? So you at once only do?
What did you do? But it was hard every time. So and that's where our tension started. So we did this show. I think I joined in November, and by about March we're doing Keeping It Kenya on a Saturday. So meaning I have my regular weekday shift and then come back on a Saturday, deal with these boys, get angry, do the show.
Rinse, repeat.
Then the Citizen opened Hot 96. So as they open Hot 96, they come and they
buy everyone.
So now there are gaps in the station. And then I get this call. I remember it was one, I think I'd come from doing the night shift, so I've just been dropped home. And then I get a call from Caroline and she says, now there's an opportunity, but you have to make a decision now because you have to start immediately. Blah, 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 blah. We have to prepare, we have to do. And so I say, okay, for sure. I've been waiting for this for it's almost 6 years now.
You're ready for it.
I'm doing it. Yeah, and your co-host will be shocked.
Oh my God, Tena. Why did he keep following you?
Because he was the one who was available in terms of he's there, he's a producer, they can find another producer easily. Roy was a manager, so he couldn't move from his position. You've been on air together, so we'll train you guys, you do the show. Me, I'm just thinking, Rod, this guy is not going to carry my vision and my dream. This guy is going to waste me. I mean, he comes hungover every Saturday. Now I have to be with him 5 times a week.
Imagine.
Lord, why me?
How now?
So we get trained. When we started the show, what people fell in love with was our antagonistic relationship. What they don't know is that it was real. We couldn't stand each other.
What?
We could not stand each other. The first whole year, we could not stand. I remember, I don't even think I had his number saved on my phone. We could not stand each other.
And he continued to do the same way.
I mean, no, he understood that primetime show is important and so serious. So coming on time, he'd come on time. Because, I mean, now it's a serious thing.
Did you call him to order? You're like, hey, boss.
No, that calling to order is what he didn't like. Calling to order, he says, you're too serious. You're always, pushing can't you just relax? Life is easy. So he would be taking life very easy. I would be like,
you're the brains, you're doing all the work.
We've got all this to do. I'm the anchor. So even if you mess up, it won't be on you, it will be on me.
Yes.
And so the show was going through this whole phase of we're starting, the times where if I get angry because he's not moving fast enough or doing what he's supposed to do, typical man shuts down.
Oh, God.
So then I realized, the show is the one that's going to lose.
Yes.
And you see, you have to prove that you can do this thing, ama you'll be chujwad.
Exactly.
So you
Dole.
Reduce yourself for the man to thrive. That's what women do.
Yes.
That's what a wife does.
Yes.
So you were angry and then you're very calm. And then he asked you, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. You, what do you think we should do? Me, I know very well what we need to do and how fast we need to do it. But I calm down. I count 199, 97, Nico blank face, Nico. So I was thinking this, but you can always say.
You just give us your decision.
And that is how the relationship started being calmer. Then we realized that as we are angry and antagonistic, people are falling in love with this thing. And people were like, people love the way
you guys were together all the time, colliding all the
so
time.
now,
you were never on one page.
When that occurred to us is when things started to work out. Like, okay, wait a minute, we can actually make a very good show. So going forward, that became, now we were acting antagonistic, but we had calmed down. But it took one person to.
How long did it take you to realize this? That
1.5 years, almost 2.
Because I can imagine that you were fighting. You're fighting for your life here.
You're fighting for my life, but him is relaxed.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's been working there for a while.
Eternity.
He started as an intern in Citizen, then they were all hired on this other side. So, yako sawa. And in any case, if it doesn't work, see any producer atarudi tu kwa position yake. You know, you're the new one, eh?
You're the one who needs to prove a point.
So that's how that antagonism actually became a value asset for us to carry on, but now intentionally without hurting each other. It took time. And then the friendship grew. And then now we were able to grow the biggest radio show of a lifetime in Kenya on the Drive Time show. Did that for 8 years before we were moved to Breakfast. Did Breakfast for 2 years. I hit 40. The conversation in my head was, hey, will I do this forever? I'm not seeing opportunity for management. I'm not seeing room. I'm not seeing space. So maybe I need other things. But I had a dream of doing TV. Because in all that while, I had done a TV show while I was still a radio host. I had done a show called The Couple Show, which aired on K24. It was produced on the side by another production house, but then now sold to K24 as the airing partner. And it was fantastic. I loved that show. And so I knew that my transition would be from radio to TV. On screen, finally let people see who you are. Because I had struggled with that whole letting people see who you are thing for a while. When we were starting off at Capital is when the first blog type of content came out with Pulse magazine.
The tabloid,
Yes, and the tabloid was, like The Sun in the UK, which I had seen. So I knew that I don't want it. And it was crazy. I mean, those guys, you'd be at an event for a client and, they have cameras, they're taking photos from angles you cannot. What happened, they had somebody who had come from the UK who was interning there, and he taught them all the tricks that they use out there. Okay. So all of a sudden, you're seeing photos, you are like, at this point, what was I even doing? But then they have these air bubbles that are saying totally different. So we're creative at that.
Yes.
So me, I have been afraid completely. I was like, you're not catching me. In fact, I have an art. I can be having a conversation with you. I can tell a camera is, I just know. That's a cameraman. There's a cameraman. And when the cameraman comes, the way to kill, if you don't want a scandalous photo of you, smile at the camera. Be picture ready. Is this side? This side. The guy gets annoyed.
Because they want to catch you off guard and then they can put it.
Cannot be me.
Is this the reason why
me?
Actors, celebrities just avoid interviews with TV because they misconstrue everything that you guys try to say?
Yeah, most times, like any conversation we will have here, a blogger will pick it up and then go and write their own thing with a headline.
A sensational one.
It's sensational. And yet, if you listen to the whole interview, you get the essence of why you are going in this direction. But it takes time to get over the fact that that's what's going to happen. At the beginning, I just didn't care, and I did. My job is to sell my voice on air.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do. Why are you seeing me? What do you want my private life for? So I kept my private life.
Very private.
And that was also intentional because, remember, I've now gotten into radio when I'm almost 30.
Yes.
I'm mature. I have finished all the 20-year-old nonsense.
Yes.
I know what it means to protect your family and friends. I am not here because I want the hype. This dream was not about hype.
No.
My desire was to speak to people, to hear people out, which is a gift that I had gotten from God direct. Because even in high school, I used to be the person that guys come to talk to when they are going through things and they're feeling a certain type of way, because they know I'll listen to them and I'll come up with an idea for them to think about. So it's something I love.
So how do you suggest that we handle our workspaces and maintain? Because now we are seeing that this is not just fluke for you. This is your lifeline. This is what you do. And of course, you'll find people who are going to jeopardize that position for you, whether knowingly or unknowingly. How do you get to communicate that to them so that they can see your goal? Or how do you just, apart from just letting them handle, what would you suggest to go through that situation?
So are you talking about while you're on air, or are you talking about what the media comes to say about you?
Well, on air, let's say we're working in this situation, yeah,
right?
like at the radio station,
Yeah.
where you had to calm down so that Shafie can do his job. Would you suggest that that is the way to go? Or,
I mean, I think you have to always look at the bigger picture. What's more valuable to you? And this applies not only in the work situation,
yes,
in a relationship. If you are dating, what can you live with? What can you live without? What can you just ignore, even if it's driving you mad? Is it that bad? Are there positives that outweigh that one negative? Now, my positive was I finally have the job of my dream. We are actually making waves.
yes.
If it's going to take for me to tone or calm myself or allow this man to thrive in a certain way, because when he does, he performs better, which is bringing us to the end goal.
Yes.
Which one would you choose?
You make a sacrifice.
Make a sacrifice. People don't make sacrifices that don't actually end up to help them in the long run. What's the big picture?
What's the end game? What are you looking
for? What do you believe you will achieve by making the sacrifice? Now, if you look at it, even like I've said, in a relationship.
Yes.
If you are in this relationship with this person and you can see that if I choose to be so petty about something that it's bad, I don't like it, but it's not the end of the world. And if I ignore it, we will thrive here.
We will move to this point. Yes.
But again, can you live with that sacrifice?
Self-awareness.
Me, I could live with it because I knew what I wanted. I wanted to thrive in this show. I was enjoying, after we stopped fighting each other, I was enjoying how it was going. So I knew that for him to thrive, if you come down at him or you push him in a way that he feels like it's bombarding, he shuts down. So all I have to do is not bombard, find another way. Find another way to communicate what it is that we need to do that will allow him to be able to continue to do what it is he needs to do. That was a sacrifice. Yeah. So you have to think.
You mind games.
What works for you?
Why?
End game. What do you want? If you don't know what you want, then you will find yourself.
You'll be lost in the noise.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
yeah. So 35, 30, you're in radio, and guys are prying
in radio. The prying, now when social media became a thing, and now the last 5 years, it could very well be seen as the most difficult period because we're new to this thing. We've never had this happen. We've existed for 5 good years where we only see you when we go for Chagolatinis and such kind of events.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden you're seeing us all the time. We're supposed to show ourselves all the time. You have to be in control of that as well.
How did you learn that?
Because I had been controlling my life prior. Yeah, because I had been controlling my life prior. I was not there to be, how do I say this? I had been on air and people had liked us for what we do, not for who we are.
Yes.
What we look like.
Yes.
What we do outside there. So why should that change now that there is a platform that shows who we are? If you're genuine,
true,
it shouldn't change.
Yes.
I don't have to flaunt my body, my anything for you to like me. If my voice and the job I do and how I deliver a story has worked, then it's proof that that's what should continue to work.
Yes.
And so that was intentionally, I remember Facebook began first, and I had no reason to keep. Facebook is supposed to be for friends. If you're not my friend, why are you in my Facebook?
Why are you in my list of people?
You're not my friend. We're not friends.
Friends.
We're not friends.
Kabisa.
And that was the one place I could be myself. Because again, another thing that people don't understand, good quality radio, the real training of radio, you're given a character to represent that fits in line with the target audience of the radio station.
Okay.
So remember, we said I've checked in, I'm almost 30.
Yes.
Kiss is 18 to 24. So see, I have to find out how 18 to 24s talk like, what they behave, what they say. And then I'm representing the 18 to 24-year-old listener, female listener, who lives a certain way, but is aspirational to certain things. So the aspirational part is, she wants to get her own place. She wants to work hard. She doesn't believe that a man should put her down. She doesn't believe that she should be taking crap like this. She'll do this and that and the other. And so my role was to protect the woman at all costs.
At all costs.
Whether I believe her nonsense or not.
You were to take her side, no matter.
That's the show. Well, what happened? We did our job so well because Shafie was the Kenyan bad boy, and so he's just a rogue bad guy who does all the crazy bad things.
Yes.
In person, that's not who he is.
Like you said, I'm sorry.
He's such a softie.
Are you serious?
In real life, when he's not being persona, he's a softie. He's so kind. He can give away his whole wardrobe.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
He was the one on Twitter, my God, that day.
But you see, being the Kenyan bad boy was the role. Meaning, if we go to a particular event where we are representing Kalekye and Shafie, the brands of radio, we must deliver
the characters.
The characters.
Yes.
So he will dress like a bad boy. I'll be the good girl. I'll be the one who takes no nonsense from men. I will be. Because we're working.
Oh my God.
It's like you've dealt with actors, you've sat with actors here. And there's some people that you will hate just because of their
correct.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You watch them over and over again being a bad person. Even when you meet them in person, you'll be sneering.
Yes.
But you don't know why. You just...
See, Patience Ozokor has had to come out and say, oh my God, I'm not a witch in person.
Yeah.
Guys.
And that's because she did her job so well. We did our job
so well. You guys were villainized.
And you know what? I mean, in retrospect, it felt bad, but I did my job well. So I can sis, you did your job well.
So do you reverse that?
Which is what I'm doing now. I mean, I having left a place where you're given a character Bible to be a certain person, it's taken a couple of years. I left 7 years ago. It's going to be 7 years this July.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And in that time, I've been able to be allowed to be a 40-something-year-old. And as a 40-something-year-old, there are things that I really don't care. First of all, for example, when I left, blogs and such things, I don't read them. I don't know what they do. I hear there are certain podcasts where they talk about people I don't know. I don't listen. I don't care. I don't know who those people are.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them before or met them. So occasionally someone say, hey, did you hear Kinan? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. And if you're really my friend, you'll know that I don't know. I don't care because my friends, my age mates, we don't care. We don't listen. We don't follow.
We don't engage.
I don't engage. It's not helping my life. It's not adding value. No, couldn't be bothered. So I don't know anymore about any bloggers or anything, or whatever they say or whatever they do. So I also adapted a thing where, as much as you keep your life private, also keep your mental space healthy. Stay away from the negative. If you know that that's going to be painful, that people are going to say things that are just going to be like, excuse me, did you call me? Did you ask me? Keep away. So even for now, when you are on a social platform, you have a responsibility, because there are people who are looking up to you and watching you, which is what I find a lot of people engaging on social media forget. Employers these days, companies who want to work with you for any influencer work or anything, They look at how you present yourself. If you want to present yourself in a fun, you're doing things for fun, be prepared. If it's public,
It's going to come back to you.
It's going to have a repercussion on how people see you, how they engage with you, who's going to put money into your pocket or not. You have a responsibility. The minute you're a public figure, you have a responsibility. Share only what you're willing to live with. Is that something I live with? Only what I'm willing to live with. Only what I believe is of value, because if I'm sharing it, if it's not changing or helping your life in any way,
why is it there?
If it's for vanity, I need to check myself. Yeah. So I only share content that I believe will help impact somebody. And for me, as long as even one person's life has been touched and impacted by a story I either shared, told, or an interview I did or whatever, it's enough for me. I just need to impact a life. So sharing my content, the way I handled my presence on social media was very intentional. Mm-hmm. So like we began on Facebook, like I mentioned. So Facebook then opened pages that can be now public pages, fan pages. That's the time when I went to now say, okay, my fans may want to see me. Please note, there had been impersonators, an impersonator who had signed up as me because they saw I wasn't signing up as a fan page for a very long time, had reached almost 200K.
Wow.
Was writing in English that I cannot be caught dead.
Speaking or typing or writing.
Cannot. And then there are people who are still following, even people who are my friends. And I'm going, hey, people. If you even know me, do you think I can speak like that? Then the things they're writing about, surely then you don't know me at all. How do you say you're my friend or my fan? Really? And that was like difficult. And that's when I realized any new social media platform that opens, register your brand immediately, whether you're going to be using that platform or not. Because somebody somewhere was going to do something. And especially when the laws are not tight enough.
Yes.
And at the time for Facebook, Kenya is like a speck in the world. They don't care. They don't know what people are. So there was no checks and balances. Mm-hmm. It took so much time to get that person shut down, because that person started now trading. Before influencer work became influencer work, that person was telling people, bring, I'll talk about your brand,
I'll advertise stuff for you.
Mm-hmm. And then say, I'm busy, I'll send my assistant. And because people believe I'm busy, do you know it was a dude? It was not a woman.
Why? I am surprised, but I'm not surprised.
I know, right? Oh, Kenyan men are weird.
What the hell?
Sorry, gentlemen. But it was a man impersonating me, looking for fame, having the desire to be acknowledged. Yeah. We found out because one of my friends said, we're setting up this guy. We have to find out. Pretended to be looking for business, set them up, got the cops. Like, it was a process. However, Kenyan police, cyber police, at the time. I even went to DC. I met with the head boss. Nothing happened. I had to find a way to get
him.
No. I had to go through for Facebook to activate and do something.
Yes.
I had to go through, I remember South Africa, find somebody who has a link to the industry in South Africa so that they can get somebody on Facebook to actually listen. Then they now asked us, send your verification, you have to send your ID. So this other person could send their ID. But the problem is they were shut down, but they would still open again. We go through the process again. I think I did it about 3 times before I could gain enough traction to be
audible enough to like, this is not
actually, and then eventually now trying to get the blue badge and everything was also on that process, especially for Facebook. Twitter, quick, fast. They just ask you certain questions, show verification of who you are, clips of articles written about you that verify that you are a personality, blah, blah, blah. Because they want to give it to people who are recognized.
Yes.
So it took years. And eventually I get it. But Facebook is a place that I don't dwell, because also there I feel like a lot of people who are on Facebook, where we are not on the same page. There's a lot of attacks and villainism on Facebook. I don't know if you experience the same thing.
Oh, yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen it happen,
Yeah.
particularly when with the plus size blog that I run.
Yeah,
We actually had to censor some comments
exactly.
because
It's too much.
oh my God.
So as an individual who cares for her mental health,
Yes.
I do have a Facebook fan page, but I'm not active anymore. It just wasn't working for me. So I stopped Facebook, I stopped Twitter. The pages are open. I leave Twitter for when I need to talk to Kenya Power and such alike people.
You're like, where?
Yeah. But tweeting, not anymore. Facebook, not anymore. I have my personal page with my friends, people who know me before I became a brand, who understand I am a human being. That's where I talk. But Instagram has been a peaceful place. So you'll always find me on Instagram. My handles are all at Kalekye Mumo. If you know how to spell my name, you'll be fine. You'll find it. And they're all verified. So that's where I am.
When you were at the height of your career with at the radio show with Shafie, did you get attacked because of your character on radio? How did you deal with the mental gymnastics that come with it?
I think being on air, the people who call and they say, "Wait, that's the show." And really,
that's supposed to be happening.
That's supposed to be happening.
Yes.
The effects are when you meet people on outside.
Yes.
And they have this whole thing where they're telling you probably about a story that came on air and, you had to pick a side. It's a debate, eh?
Yes.
Like any other debate. If you go for a debate in school, you'll be told, your teacher can tell you, you'll be the antagonist, you'll be the protagonist. That you're in your mind, your voice should be on the other side. But it's a role.
It's a role you play.
You'll do the thing.
Sindio.
So me, I sit there and I look. And then, we'd finish a show, finish the story. And as soon as I finish, mimi nimesahau.
Umesonga na maisha yako.
Nimeendelea. I don't remember.
Ukitoka nje ndo watu wakwambia
sitting there. Hey, how could you tell that? And I'm there going, oh, no. Do I even remember what this guy is talking about? Because if we carried the content of some of our shows,
you would be
insane. I would not sleep at night.
Exactly.
Because some people had some really tough conversations going on.
Yes.
And so for what it's worth, dealing with how people reacted in person when they meet you, you had to be very gracious because they're still your fans. So with grace, and then sometimes you politely have to shut them down because it's not personal. It's my job. It's not personal. This is how the story was going. But at the end, this was the end result. Again, radio has to have an end conversation. I feel like today a lot of people have conversations that are not helping grow the society in a positive way. They're just doing it for the hype or the controversy.
Yes.
But there's no point of controversy if it doesn't bring it home to a reality check. That's what radio was created for. That it's supposed to inform, that there's a solution that should grow you as a society.